Anyone who is familiar with the show, primarily the audio show from when we originally launched it, and then people who followed me for any great period of time, they're probably familiar with the In the Studio Retrospective show and all of the difficulties I had been having with YouTube. There were times when it felt like they were singling me out, but I know they weren't. It was just an automated bot, and whatever I was doing was just triggering it. And, I was having shows pulled down in the middle of the night, all kinds of difficulties with YouTube. And like, for example, there was an episode that used to be on YouTube that was just us recommending that people check out the original pilot for the television version of The Incredible Hulk and talking about how much we like it and we love it. And I was talking about how I still think that it's one of the best versions of the Hulk in my mind, and that it's totally worth rewatching today, that it stands up. We were literally evangelizing and publicizing Universal's Hulk television series and trying to get people to go back and revisit it because it's worthwhile. That's what we were doing. For whatever reason, even though there were hundreds, it seemed like if not thousands of videos that had the Incredible Hulk TV show intro just in it. I mean, just in it. It wasn't even like, it was part of it. I mean, it was just in it. It was everywhere. For some reason, when I tried to put it in mine, I had like such a slew of just nonstop, never-ending problems. I had to recut that episode 5 times before eventually I could get it to actually load up on YouTube. And I kept getting flagged for everything under the world. And it was just absolutely driving me berserk. So I kind of lost my love and enjoyment of what I was trying to accomplish on YouTube, because the retrospective show was supposed to be something fun. I was doing it with a bunch of fellow professional comic artists and friends, and we were just doing something for fun. It wasn't that big a deal. And I've got one of the tiles up, the promo tiles, and a lot of us enjoyed doing this show. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with this enforcement of, I don't know if you want to call it COPPA or COPPA or whatever the hell, the COPPA. Anyhow, this enforcement is coming down. And I was familiar with it, but not terribly familiar with it. And then I hadn't gotten really knee deep into what all was going on. We had covered it on our last episode, and I was a little stunned and shocked at how vague the guidelines were. Well, yeah, literally. Yeah. Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. I should be cursing right now to make sure people know this is a show for adults, not children.
I think I'm going to do this quite a few times.
Oh, yeah. To be sure. Yeah. This is not a show for children. Anyhow, I realized I needed to go in and investigate it and figure out what I needed to do with the show so that we wouldn't get in trouble. Literally, when you watch the YouTube recommendation or the YouTube guideline video, they basically tell you that they're not really sure and you should go hire a lawyer.
And I do want to mention we covered that in our last show, and I did take that clip, so you can watch that clip alone. You don't have to watch the rest of the show. I have the clip where we just talk about the YouTube guidelines and COPPA.
Yeah, but I was totally, I knew, but I was still kind of shocked. So then I went on and watched a whole slew of YouTube videos to see what people were doing or how they were reacting or what they were trying to do in order to comply. And I went into the back end of my YouTube channel. I went in there with the specific purpose and intent of just basically pulling down the videos that I knew were going to be the obvious ones. For example, I had done a show with Cooper's Awesome Day because I'm friends with his parents, and we had an episode that was just talking about he wanted to print up some shirts, he wanted some merch, he was just being a silly kid, right? and we had some fun with it. And I created him something he put on a shirt. They never actually produced anything. It was just a silly stunt video. We were just kind of having fun, and he's, and I just was, you know what I mean? We were just doing it for fun. It wasn't like any great, whatever. I knew that one had to come down for sure, right? Like that definitely violates all kinds of stuff according to the COPPA law. So, I got to take that one down, even though it's a gag. So I went in to take that one down. Out of 149 videos on YouTube, I had 109 various strikes. Whether it was
wait, how many strikes?
109.
Wow.
Whether it was for copyright violation, community guidelines, you name it, I had 109. And I realized that actually over 20 of my videos were blocked outright, just blocked. And basically, I couldn't monetize, even if I wanted to, I couldn't even monetize the tutorial video that I put up. Now, the tutorial video I put up, I spent a lot of time on, and I was teaching people how to use Prismacolor markers. And I spent a ton of time on that video. And it's very helpful and beneficial and whatever. And I, I didn't have it monetized because I didn't want ads or anything to run in front of it unnecessarily. I just wanted people to be able to benefit and take some value from it. And it was kind of co-branded with the audio show because at the time we were pushing the show and we were talking about sketch cards. And so we created this companion video that showed people some of the techniques I used when I created my sketch cards. So it's a way that an aspiring professional or a professional could learn techniques and then put them to use and make money, right? By bolstering your professional skills, adding some extra things to your toolkit as a working artist or illustrator or comic book artist. The music that plays in the intro was a piece of music that I purchased from Audio Jungle. Okay, I didn't go get a freeware thing. I stopped using YouTube's free music a long time ago because I thought that's going to get me in trouble. So I have been buying all of the music that we have been using in the shows, whether it was the audio show or it was the video show. I've bought all the music. And a lot of times, if I wanted to use a clip, I tried to see what I could do to get clearance to use it. Sometimes it made sense and sometimes it didn't. So some of the clips are a little suspect. But all the music that were in all the shows, particularly the audio shows and the later versions of the video show, I purchased all of that. I had copyright strikes from people I bought music from.
That's crazy. That's
literally
insane.
It literally looked like a witch hunt. And then I realized, oh, you know what? Part of the reason the show isn't growing is not because we kind of poke fun at the idea of being sort of like cable access and whatever. Part of the reason the show isn't growing is just because basically the show is so hindered between everything that's been going on with it that, YouTube's just determined the show's not going to grow. Right? I mean, when they block 20 some odd episodes, they just don't want you people to see the show, right?
I do want to mention that when I went behind my YouTube to look at this stuff, because I was looking for two things. I was looking for flags, and I was looking to see if anything got relabeled because I put my channel as a not a kid channel.
Right.
I defaulted it to that, and of course YouTube went through all this stuff with their system, and there's people that got their videos changed and things like that. So I wanted to see if that had happened, and I wanted to see about flags. I had two videos that were flagged, and they were both game playthroughs. One was for Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront. The other one's for The Long Dark, an independent video game that I play. And I was like, what the heck? And sure enough, the flags were for the music, not the fact that I was doing the playthrough, but I got hit for the music. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was interesting because I was like, because I've seen people do all sorts of playthroughs, and they're monetized, much larger channels. They never have any issues. But I got hit for the music.
And see, and that's the thing. That's the big culprit. So if you're watching this or you're listening to this right now and you're thinking about doing something on YouTube, your biggest headache is going to be music. Those bots are just mean and evil, and they just, I don't get it. It's really frustrating.
I think with the music stuff, they pretty much just flag everybody, and then it's up to you to dispute it.
But see, I have disputed stuff, and it never comes out in my favor ever. And so I was sitting there and I was looking at my YouTube channel. I had about 101 subscribers. I'd had over 6,000 some odd views between all the videos and everything. And I've really enjoyed and been very proud of everything I'd done. And I found myself at a bit of a crossroads because I was really upset. I was very, very upset because it's just, the retrospective show was just something we were doing for fun and to highlight some of the members of the Northern Arizona Cartoonists Association, which is a nonprofit, by the way. We do fundraisers that benefit libraries. We do fundraisers to help out various groups, whether it's Cub Scouts or church groups to send kids to, summer camp. I mean, it's not like we're this evil monetizing corporation or we're doing anything shady. It's just a bunch of, cartoonists coming together to do something kind of fun in a different format.
Well, if you were one of those evil corporations, then you'd probably be fine.
Yeah, because that's what you have to be, because you have to be able to afford a lawyer to tell you if you're okay or not. So in a fit of rage, and with consulting a few, like my current co-host, I talked to him before I did this of the video version of the show. I deleted the entire YouTube channel, just the whole bleeping thing, top to bottom. I have been so frustrated with everything that's been going on, and literally and that's the thing that kills me. We were just doing this for fun. It wasn't, and we weren't attacking, especially in the retrospective show. We were never attacking anyone. We were never overly critical. We had a little bit too much fun with Darkman, maybe, but it just really was. It really infuriated me. And then after doing this, because I realized it's like, wow, I should have talked to Derek about this before I did this. Because I was just super angry about it. I was just because I kept looking at these guidelines and I kept looking at these 109 disputes. It's like, how am I going to manage this? And I literally started typing up a few, and that was when I was like, you know what, forget it. Just forget it. Why the hell am I even trying? The amount of effort that would go into fighting for these videos. I could just take it somewhere else, right? Like, that's the thing. I own my content. I could just take it somewhere else. I bought the rights to the music and everything else. So that's what I decided to do. I already set up a Vimeo account. I'm going to start migrating all that content over to Vimeo. And that's where you're going to be able to eventually find the original episodes of the retrospective show. I have 4 episodes that are actually currently in active production that I'm still trying to finish, that no one's even seen. And what I pulled up here on the screen right here, this is actually the artwork that I created for the Forbidden Planet episode. You had to watch basically the YouTube video to even see this, because I haven't posted this anywhere. But for those people watching right now, this is the artwork that I created for the Forbidden Planet episode. I feel like people might like to see it, so here it is.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
And that's what we were doing moving forward. All my various hosts and I were creating new pieces of art. I have new pieces of art for John Carpenter's The Thing. I have new pieces of art for Space Seed, Wrath of Khan, like all these episodes that we were working on. So we're still going to do those episodes. We're still going to roll those out. They're going to be on Vimeo, and Eric might choose to host a couple of them if he chooses to do so. But on his channel. But this is part of what caused the format changes to the show, and part of what caused, if you were a follower or viewer of my YouTube channel and you're wondering where did it go, this is what happened. I just got so angry, I just deleted the whole channel, because I have more tutorial videos that are in production also that I have plans for. A couple things I've shot. I was going to roll out more tutorial videos, but I'd rather people go find those on my website or maybe go watch those on Facebook, someplace where I feel like, I'm not going to be attacked for creating content that everyone can enjoy, right?
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It does. It does.
So, Eric,
Um,
we hadn't talked about it too much. Did you think my reaction? I'm sure you think my reaction to this was probably a little harsh and overdone. I was in quite an emotional state. Do you feel like I overreacted?
well, I don't know. Having that's a lot of flags. That's a lot of flags, and to have to dispute all that for something that essentially is just something you're doing for fun. That's a lot. That's kind of crazy. You know.
And
Um,
it's important to remember for people who don't remember, if they find that your videos are in violation of the COPPA enforcement, they were going to fine people up to 43,000 some odd dollars
it's
per
42 and some
violation.
change. You round it up.
42 and
It's
some
about
change.
43,000, but yeah, it's like 42 something. Yeah.
Yeah, and for every violation. So let's say that they determined I had 100 videos that were a violation because it featured characters that kids have watched at one time in their lifetime, and because I'm speaking in English, it's a language that children can understand, right? I can't afford that. That's the other part of the reason I just deleted the whole YouTube channel. I can't afford that. I can't afford one of those, let alone, 100 or 20 or 10 or, God forbid, 149. Um,
Yeah,
it
that's
just,
devastating. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't understand the logic behind all of this. I mean, I get that we need to protect children. And I didn't feel like we were doing anything that targeted children. I mean, I did have, I know some kids that followed and liked watching my art and stuff that I posted on Instagram. There were a few kids that liked watching the videos. I also deleted my Instagram account too, in a mighty and raging fury too. And I had to stop myself because I literally came so close to just leaving all of social media, all of it, because as a creative professional, I'm just trying to create things that hopefully people will enjoy and feel entertained, and that's all I'm trying to do. To find to express my love of these particular things and to tell stories with my art. That's it. That's it. You know, and the majority of my content is all ages, and it makes me fearful for what the federal government's going to do to me. And so I literally I went on a deleting frenzy. Luckily, I stopped after Instagram because someone asked me what in the heck I was doing on private message. Um, but yeah. Anyhow, I'm sorry, Eric. I interrupted you. So did you feel like that what I did was that you're saying you didn't feel like it was too much an overreaction because 109 109 strikes to dispute seems like a lot.
Yeah, it does. It seems overwhelming. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And to try to fight all that, and of course, but besides COPPA, we've got other things going on, and I want to get to that a little bit a little bit at the end of this because I have some stuff prepared to talk about what's really the root of all this because everybody's trying to treat these problems in isolation, including COPPA. There are people that are saying, "Hey, this has nothing to do with the copyright stuff. This has nothing to do with these other things," and it's like, nah, it kind of does. So, but before we get into that, I want to get into something positive, and you were the one that first kind of showed me this. So I went on Retroblasting's YouTube, and I went ahead and cut and paste their form letter to the FTC.
Right.
And if you haven't done this, I strongly encourage you to. I strongly encourage everyone to do this. Later on, when I tag this, I'll put the link to the retroblasting video so people can get this text. And I just want to say I'm putting my mouth. I should say, this doesn't cost anything, but I'm putting my money where my mouth is. This is the regulations.gov website. You can see I've got my receipt. I've got a tracking number here. This is the public comment that the FTC has been asking for. And this is the form letter that Retroblasting put out that I think is very reasonable. Um, that basically just goes over, some of the concerns that people have. And what they did was they put this pretty much exactly like they took every word that you're allowed in these comments. So there's only like a minimal amount of personalization you need to do. One of the things you got to do is put how many years. So it says like it starts out. I'm a regular YouTube user and have been. It says like blank. I just put several years. And then
Right.
there's also a little section here where it says it gives examples of some channels that could be hurt by this. And I think the channels that are most vulnerable right now are the toy channels. Anybody who's reviewing
Right.
toys, they're the ones that are in the crosshairs. I saw some Lego videos, and I've never been into the Lego builds, but those videos are very popular right now. The COPPA videos from the Lego community because they're freaking out. I mean, some of these Lego builder people have millions of subscribers for their awesome Lego builds, and they really feel like they're going to be destroyed by this. So it's kind of interesting um, to see what they're going through because a lot of them, there's even some that are just like saying, I'm probably done. I probably cannot weather this storm at all. And these are people that have substantial channels where they actually have been monetized and all that kind of stuff. And so that means they're going to take a financial hit, all those kinds of things. So anyway, I did identify three channels that I support. One of them, of course, being Retroblasting, another one being Analog Toys, and also the Junkmen. None of them, I think, are targeting kids. They're basically all adult collectors who are putting quality YouTube content. For the most part, it's also family friendly. And a lot of people are kind of sitting here like, is family friendly bad now? Should I be dropping the f bomb every 5 minutes to show people that I'm not a kid channel? And this form letter brings up all those points.
And
Um,
I want to bring that up just for a second too, because I had a conversation with at my day job with a mother who her daughter enjoys looking at my art and had been watching some of the videos and stuff. And when I told her that I deleted the channel, I explained my reasons for why. She she expressed to me that she thought that was unfortunate, partly because she felt like that the content that we were creating, was stuff that was for all ages, and that families could watch all that stuff together if they wanted. And she said, well, this, how much more family friendly entertainment that families enjoy, how much of all this is going to go away because of this?
yeah,
Because and I think the thing that was the most infuriating for me, did you see the FTC comments, like the actual video where the head of the FTC or the spokesman was talking about
I've
how
seen
they're
several of
going?
those videos actually with
Oh my
different
lord,
spokesmen too.
I couldn't believe just the cavalier. Oh yeah, you're familiar with the analogy of fish in a barrel. Oh yeah, and just sort of like, yeah, we're gonna get
Yeah,
them. And
yeah, I heard the fish in the barrel comment.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm like, who are you gonna get? Like, there's all kinds of people. Like, for example, like myself. Like, I felt threatened by the government, so I just deleted my channel. It's like I don't know what else to do. I can't afford to hire a lawyer to sit down and discuss like my YouTube channel where I have 100 subscribers. You know what I mean? Like, either one of those, deleting the channel or hiring a lawyer to discuss the legality of my videos, is an overreaction. Either one of them.
yeah, and I want to point out there's a line in here in this form letter that I think is spot on, and it's something that I want to talk about a little bit more. It says right here, while large corporations will survive these changes, small business creators face terminating employees, changing their business model, or shutting down production altogether. These regulations will particularly hurt young, underserved audience who participate in YouTube communities on topics like special needs, faith, and minority groups. Limiting quality free content for kids expands the digital divide. Turning off personalized ads on kids' content also encourages increased product placement and brand deals within kids' content. So there's a dual point here. One being that for a long time, people have been saying this. YouTube is gearing itself towards the corporate channels, the corporate elite. Okay, this has been happening for a while. That's why I say COPPA is not should not be treated in isolation. It is a symptom of a larger problem. And part of this is the fact that it was Google, because Google owns YouTube. It was Google who violated the COPPA law. It was not any content creators. I've actually heard some criticism of content creators where they said, well, you content creators, some of you have been blurring the lines and it's your fault or you didn't help. And I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not the content creator's fault that he or she was trying to get views on their site and trying to follow the trends that YouTube itself was encouraging. That's not their fault. It's not their fault that they're successful. Because I think a lot of that comes down to envy. And people are like, yeah, you guys benefited from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did, because they saw what the trend was. They saw that Google was targeting kids. They saw that they were doing this. This is what happened. Google violated the law. And so the solution that the FTC comes up with Google, paying a quote unquote massive fine, which is chump change to them. Google's huge. Okay. So the hundred and something, I think it's like 170 million they're paying in fines. It's chump change to them. They care less. They can take that. It's all part, I think, of this more corporate model that YouTube seems to be going to, where they're really trying to push the independent creators out. And that infuriates me. And I think that's something that people need to be aware of. And beyond sending letters to the FTC, I really advise you to go and contact your representative, contact your senators, because this is a federal law. So you need to contact your congressman, you need to contact your representatives. You need to let them know what's going on, because quite frankly, right now they're dealing with other stuff. And this is kind of under the radar in a lot of ways, because you're not hearing a lot of coverage of this on the mainstream media in terms of national attention. This is something that people involved in the community are freaked out about. People that are involved in these communities are concerned about and reporting on,
Right.
not the mainstream media. So, and it's like anything else. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if you don't bring up these concerns, this stuff is just going to keep happening. And again, I'm going to say this is part of a larger problem. And I want to kind of get to the essence of that. Let me pull it up here. So I'm not sure if you're even aware of this particular statute. This is something that in political circles I became aware of a while back, because there were people that were kind of that were already talking about this,
Right.
In political circles. Let me bring it up here. This to me is the essence of kind of what's going on and the problem here. Did I just lose that?
I was going to add too, just real quickly, one of the other things that has been discussed and was coming down the pike is that YouTube is getting ready to revise sort of their legal boilerplate. I forget what it's actually called, but it's basically everything you agree to, like as a creator on YouTube and as a user of YouTube. One of the things that's going to be coming in the new one that's going to be rolling out soon, and it basically states that if there's no way for YouTube to monetize basically the content that you're putting on their service in a way in which, I guess they find directly beneficial or whatever, that they have the right to basically delete or terminate your channel. Eric, can you hear me? So I'm not. So I'm not sure who can. Okay, so I'm not sure if Eric can hear me or not. I was just checking on Twitter, so if you hear some background noise, because I can tell that basically we are still on a live feed. There is some kind of hang up or something that's going on here with the show. So we're going to hope that Eric can resolve this here in a second. Anyhow, the only point I was making is that they're getting ready to amend their not guidelines. Forget what it's called, but it's basically the legalese you agree to, and it basically states that they can basically pull or delete your channel if they determine that there's no way in which they can obviously benefit from it. Now, as a company, from a capitalism standpoint, they have every right to do that, which I get, you know. But the tenor of what I thought YouTube was as TV for you, or UTV, whatever. And I felt like that. I don't know. It does feel like the pendulum's swinging the other way, more in benefits of the corporations versus the independent or the smaller content creators. Was the only point I was trying to make. Well, so Eric is saying that he is not frozen, but maybe it's just me. So if anyone can hear me, I'm going to attempt to log off and maybe log back in.
Are we back?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I'm going to go full conspiracy theory right now. I literally was pulling up Section 230 of the it's a federal law, Section 230 of the United States Code, which pertains to the issue of platform versus publisher. I've talked to you about this before. I think mostly off the air.
Right.
And I think this is the core of this issue. Literally, as I was trying to share that article, the system froze. So I'm going full conspiracy with this. That
Right.
they don't want that information out there. I'm half joking, but that's literally what happened. The second that I tried to share that image of the text of Section 230, the federal law, as soon as I did that, the entire show shut down, and we froze up. I still want to get that link out there. I don't want to let them win. You know what I mean? So
No, I understand.
And I know you got interrupted, so you had a train of thought that you were talking about when the show froze.
Oh,
the train while I try to figure this out.
Yeah, all I was talking about is just there's going to be a new group or there's going to be some new guidelines or new things you have to agree to that's going to, what they call a policy update or whatever that's coming down the road. A lot of people have already started talking about this, but I don't remember the exact language of it, but it basically reads sort of like if if they don't see an obvious way to monetize the content that you're putting basically on their platform, they have the right to just go in and delete your channel. Um, and I think that's twofold. The first one is anything that's just chewing up, bandwidth or space that they want to use for something else, and the person's been inactive or whatever, and they're not creating new content. It gives them the opportunity to pull those people off. One, right? Number two, I think it would give them the ability to go in and actually pull off a lot of these YouTube channels and videos from when YouTube was new, where people were just uploading TV shows and movies and all this random stuff, whether it's in the public domain or not. It would give them the ability or the right to go in and delete those things out, right?
Right.
But also, any channel they feel like is just chewing up a lot of space and it's not really making them any money, cut them loose too. This is part of what fueled my rage when I deleted my YouTube channel. This is the other thing that was going through my mind. It's like, well, my show isn't obviously easy to monetize, right?
Right.
So I don't know. That was the only point I was making, but that's coming down the road, ladies and gentlemen. That's coming down the road. So
here's what I was trying to get out there when the show froze. This is from Legal Information Institute, which is part of Cornell University. So this is the Cornell University Law School. You can see the EDU at the top, just so people know this is fairly legit. Anyway, this is the 47 U.S. Code, Section 230, protection for private blocking and screening of offensive material. This is something that was meant to deal with things like obscenity, all sorts of different things. Okay.
Right.
Here's the key part that's applicable to the situation right now. It's a Section C, and it's protection for the Good Samaritan blocking and screening of offensive material. Treatment of a publisher or speaker. It says no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. There are links here that obviously will tell you what these things mean, but this is actually pretty plain English. Section 2 of this says civil liability. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of A, any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected. Or B, any action taken to enable or make available information to information content providers or others the technical means to restrict access to material described in paragraph 1. So what the core of this is that basically this is, I've again, I don't think I've talked about this on the air. This is the platform versus publisher thing that some people might have heard of before. This is the protection that basically internet service providers and also large corporations like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This is the stuff that keeps them out of a lot of the civil court and civil liability for having content that is considered offensive. So what this does is it gives them sort of a special legal status because they're not considered the publisher of the content. There's also a part of this that actually protects bloggers. I think it might even be in the next section. It actually protects bloggers who are like make comments, on their blog and say, offensive, or offensive things, violent things, right, whatever. It gives them some protection as well. And again, this was all part of a larger law that again is just meant to kind of police the internet when it comes to violent content, I guess pornography, all sorts of different things. But this section is key to what's going on because what's happening is there's sort of lost the feed for a little bit again. So
yeah,
there's sort of this this thing that the FTC is doing with this agreement about COPPA, which is a separate law from what I'm talking about right now. COPPA is a separate law. It's its own law, which I think, as far as I know, COPPA seems like a good law. In fact, I wish COPPA had some more application to adults because, let's face it, a lot of this data mining stuff gets scary that's going on with the internet. But I'm fine with COPPA saying, don't do that to kids, okay? You can do it to these adults who have signed their lives away, but you can't do it to kids because, they don't have the legal right to make these agreements. So, but this is a separate thing. This Section 230 is basically enshrining this idea that, okay, well, YouTube is not a publisher. They are a platform. And therefore, instead of putting the liability on them, when these were the guys who violated the law, by the way, they violated the law, not the content creators. So the content creators have nothing to do with these targeted ads. That's something that goes behind the scenes with Google. This is something that they offer to people that want an ad. So what's happening is the Federal Trade Commission is kind of enthroning this platform idea that, hey, YouTube, you can wash your hands of this because you're a platform. You're not creating content, even though they are. They are creating content, Cobra Kai, for instance. But even though we keep blurring these lines, they're kind of enshrining this protection for this mega corporation. They're basically saying you can wash your hands of it. You put the little, now you're making the creators label these things themselves. The liability is gone. And so what's happening is they're trying to have it both ways. And I think it goes right back to this thing. It goes right back to this idea that they are a platform. They are not a publisher. And when you hear that, that's what it all comes down to is Code 230 of the U.S. Code. This is what enshrines them, and this is what the FTC is also going with. And I think it's completely unacceptable, and that's why I say you need to contact your representative or your senator, both senators, and let them know that this is total crap. Because what they're doing is they're trying to have it both ways. And it's not fair that a big, huge corporation with practically unlimited resources gets to get away with this. It's basically the equivalent of a slap on the wrist. And then you're going to go after individual content creators who may have virtually nothing with these huge fines. Like you said, the comment, they're going to shoot them like fish in a barrel,
Right. Yeah.
It's part of a larger issue is what I'm trying to say. And that I think they're getting away with it right now because people are kind of asleep at the wheel. All the coverage I've seen, the really good coverage, I would also point out, the really good coverage of COPPA, they're trying to treat this issue in isolation as if it's not related to everything else. And that's just not the case. There's a bigger picture here. And I feel very strongly that the entire FTC ruling is helping to enshrine this idea that Google can basically do whatever they want. And they're going to do whatever they want behind the scenes. They'll just be a little trickier next time and not make it so obvious. But then you're going to go after the individual content creators who don't have access to lawyers and don't have these deep pockets where they can fight these things. And they're putting it all on us, literally on us, because we're content creators.
Right.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. And this line between platform and publisher is getting thinner and thinner and thinner in these streaming wars. It's one of the reasons the streaming wars are happening is because, Apple's a great example. Apple was a platform. iTunes, that was a platform. That was where people could put their content. The App Store, all that stuff. And more and more and more, they've started to put oh, no, you can't have your thing because your thing is offensive to us. And when you start doing that, you become a publisher. That's what publishers do. Publishers say, yeah, that content's not acceptable, so you can't be on our platform. You can't be in our magazine. You go back to the old days. You can't be in our newspaper. That article's not acceptable. By definition, that's a publisher. By definition, that's a publisher. So I just want to put that out there because it's not being talked about within the within the COPPA discussion, because I think COPPA is just a symptom of a larger problem.
Right. Man, this conversation got pretty deep.
Hey, they try to take us down, man.
Well, they successfully took me down. I took myself down. I was just like, screw it. So I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, I said we were doing it for fun, but I thought maybe we could use it to build an audience. And it felt like the ground underneath my feet it felt like the ground underneath my feet had been shifting for a long time. And I just decided, trying to read the wind and the air and going, maybe it's the time to leave. So, but we're still going to be creating video shows. Obviously, we're doing one right now, but we're still going to be creating content. But the retrospective show and some of these other things I've been doing with other members of NASCA, you're going to be able to find those on Facebook. You're going to be able to find those on other platforms. But I have to cut all kinds of legal disclaimers in the front of everything now to make sure everybody understands, that, what it is exactly that we're doing, so that we can't legally get in trouble for something. But this is it's a big issue. It's a big deal, it really is. And the ramifications of this, it's just crazy, because it's like, in a weird way, when they talk about the streaming wars, no one talks about the role that YouTube is playing in this, because YouTube is a part of this streaming wars, whether people realize it or not.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think is unique in our coverage, because I've been talking about that since the beginning. When we started covering streaming wars, I've always included YouTube as part of the war. They're a huge part of the war. They have been for a long time, and I think their contribution to it is bigger than people realize.
And it's strange, because I think everyone doesn't count YouTube, because they look at YouTube as if it's PBS. It's like public access. You know what I mean? Because anyone could go on YouTube, right?
Well, clearly YouTube Red, Cobra Kai, all that stuff. I mean, that's clearly part of the streaming wars. I mean, they even kind of made a big deal about that when Cobra Kai first came out, because everybody was kind of asking, well, why didn't you guys use Hulu or Netflix? Why'd you guys go with YouTube? And it just sounds like YouTube gave them a better deal,
Right.
But go ahead.
I was just going to say, but it's like, if you look at the content that's on YouTube and the value of it, I mean, I watch more content on YouTube than anything. I watch more content on YouTube. Well, I did. I currently don't watch any content on YouTube. You're welcome, YouTube. You really, really made me mad.
Well, you can't stop supporting guys like Retroblasting and stuff like that. You can't take it out on them. You know what I mean?
I'm right now, I'm just done with YouTube for a little while. I'm really angry and fed up with the whole situation. I'm still, when I see things, I'll still retweet them, and I'm championing them. I'm going to register my comment, with the FTC and whatever. But I don't like the idea of I don't know. I'm really upset about this. I really am. And the fact that, because what I was about to say before I get off track, because now I'm just getting all angry again. But the point I'm making is these tutorial videos that people post, the shows like Retroblasting, Analog Toys, all these things, these shows have value. They are valuable content. They are highly entertaining. I could see Retroblasting, being a part of Amazon Prime and being a show that people just watch, and I hope that the different creators, and I'm hoping that the other companies like Amazon and the different services and Facebook and whatever, and I don't know if people are looking at it this way, but I wish everyone would just look at the landscape and see if there's different places they could take their content, because to me, it's just like, taking your show to another network. That's how I'm trying to look at it as,
Well, speaking of that, I tagged you on a Twitter post from Metal Jesus Rocks, which I don't know. Are you familiar with his content at all?
A little bit. I saw that you tagged me on it, and I'd watched some of his content back in the day, but it's been a few years.
Well, he just signed with Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's a big YouTuber in the gaming community. I followed him for years. I've met him several times at the Game On Expo in Phoenix, and a real nice guy. He's got a bunch of other people that he collaborates with. You know, they call him the Metal Jesus Crew. And yeah, he made a deal with Amazon Prime.
and see, and that's what I think. You know, I mean, because to me, honestly, I have been thinking about it's like with the tutorials I want to create. You know, maybe I should try and take those to Amazon and see if there's some way to get them as a part of Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? And just put them in a completely different realm. Um, I don't know. The whole thing, this whole thing, just it's just so, I don't know. Anyhow, but I think I've said everything
There's
I
a
can
lot
say.
of uncertainty going forward, but if people get anything out of this, I would say do some more research, make your comment known on the FTC site, and really consider even doing a letter to your representative or senator and try to get involved with this issue and let your voice be heard. Let them know that you don't appreciate this and how it's affecting you, and that you're not liking this trend.
Right, and as this continues to go forward, depending upon how this all shakes out, I mean, there's a good chance a lot of these, for those of you that enjoy watching content on YouTube, there's the possibility a lot of these shows and these content creators and these people whose stuff that's a part of your daily life that you were always watching and following and enjoying, a lot of this could be going away. So even if you're not a content creator on YouTube, it's worth looking into this issue and registering your opinion right now while it counts. Because here pretty soon it's not going to matter. Whatever's going to happen.
January 1st is when the public content period ends for the FTC. So that's the deadline for getting into the FTC. After that, they're going to theoretically take these comments and then start implementing actual policies, procedures, start directing the troops on what to do, so to speak.
Right. So I think that might be good for our streaming wars segment.